Alright, now that we have a nice frequency table, we can create various graphical descriptives or visualizations. And the first thing we will do is a column chart. So first step that we need to do is we highlight the data that we need. So we don't need a grand total. And so we highlight the region, the category, and the frequency. And then it is pretty straightforward. We just go to Insert, Recommended Chart. And then it is this third option here. And now we have a nice frequency. A nice column chart, and I call it column chart. And you still can beautify it if you want to. So for example, if you right click on it, you can add data labels if you want to. So you can add data labels. And now we have the frequency as well. A bar chart is very similar. So we highlight again first the relevant data range. Then we go to Insert, Recommended Charts. But now it's the first one. Okay. And so now we have a bar chart. So the difference between a column chart and a bar chart is the direction of the columns. In a bar chart, those columns are horizontal. In a column chart, they are vertical. Again, if you want to, we can add the data labels. And also, if you want to display the data from highest to lowest frequency, you right click, then Format Axis, and then you can see there is an option, Categories in Reverse Order. You can click on that one. Then you have everything in reverse order. And of course you can also play around with colors and backgrounds, but I'll just skip that. The other one that I want to show you is a pie chart, but a pie chart is not very popular. But for this purpose, I want to use the percentages. So I first highlight the categories. Again, I omit the grand total. Now I press Control, and now I go with my mouse and I click into the percentage frequency. So now I have highlighted only the two columns that I need. Again, I go to Insert, Recommended Chart, and there is a pie chart option. So a pie chart essentially displays the data or the frequency or the percentage as a share of the pie. And most data scientists or statisticians, they don't really like pie charts because they are not as easily read as a column chart or a pie chart. We can add here also data labels if you want. So now we added the data labels, but I have to, if I want to know, okay, so the highest frequency is that blue, okay, that's Europe and Central Asia, but I need to look that up here in the legend, and it is so much easier though to read it off a column chart or a pie chart, a bar chart. Pie charts are very complicated to read. And imagine if I didn't have a legend, it would be even more complicated. And if I added the category description to the pies as well, it will become too convoluted. So to make a long story short, pie charts are not very popular. I also mentioned a Pareto chart. And a Pareto chart is a combination of a column chart, just like here, but also a cumulative percentage frequency line, so which would be the last column. But Excel can create a Pareto chart without highlighting also the cumulative percentage frequency because it has like already a graphical illustration for that. So even if you want to create a Pareto chart which displays the absolute count for each category and a cumulative percentage frequency, I don't have to highlight the cumulative percentage frequency. So we just go to Insert, Recommended Chart. And then if you scroll down, you can see the very last one. That's a Pareto chart. And so now we have here a Pareto chart. And maybe we should increase a little bit the space. And so this will tell us the advantage of a Pareto chart is Pareto chart that if one wants to know, for example, where do we have 50% of all the observations, we just go to the right column and we can see, okay, 50%, and then we go to the left and then we see, oh, 50% of all the observations are basically covered in Europe and Central Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa. So 50% of all the countries can be found in Europe and Central Asia or Sub-Saharan Africa. And likewise, if you go to 70%, 70% go to the left. So they can be found in almost 3 areas, namely Europe and Central Asia, Sub-Saharan Africa, and Latin America. Okay, so this default Pareto chart, by the way, is not necessarily perfect because there should be a little bit of a space in between. Because if there is no space in between, it looks a little bit more like a histogram, which is something that is like a column chart, but for continuous data, but that is something we'll talk about later. So I'll just create another Pareto chart, which looks a little bit more accurate. So I highlight this time, again, region and frequency, but now I add the cumulative percentage frequency. So now I go to Insert, Recommended Charts, and now I go to All Charts, and there's something called Combo. And then I want the frequency as a clustered column and the cumulative percentage frequency as a line, just as here, but I want to put that on a secondary axis. And now you can see that there is a little bit more space between the categories, which is an important feature when displaying categorical data. Whenever we display categorical data, there should be a little bit of a space in between. And if we want to, we can adjust the axis and say that the maximum should be 1.0. Then it looks a little bit nicer. Anyhow, so there are like many there are many ways of displaying data in Excel. Excel makes it really easy for you. So I just call it also Pareto chart. Pareto chart. Well, better. Okay. So I'll just stop here, and I think you got a good overview over the various graphical visualizations that we have available. And the next video I still show you how to make a crosstab which combines information on two categorical variables. But let's do that in a separate video.